Vampire Survivors is a pretty okay game. It's nothing amazing that everyone seems to think it is. It's just throwing that out there.
Um, it's I haven't actually played Vampire Survivors, so
You played what was it?
I
Hollow
played
Cure?
Hollow Cure.
Yeah, that one is a slightly more mechanically capable game than Vampire Survivors. Only slightly. Like there are some things that it does that are genuinely better, but also Vampire Survivors is feature complete. So you know, take that for what it is. Uh, it's okay. It is kind of. I can see why people dumped hundreds of hours, well, not hundreds, but dozens of hours into this game. Uh, it does not feel that rewarding to me.
Mm.
And some of the things that Hollow Cure does that this game doesn't are kind of bothersome to me. Like, it has one of those weapons that lets you aim, unlike most of the weapons in the game, where it just shoots at an enemy, whichever direction they happen to be. But the weapons you aim, uh, unlike in Holocure, where you can do it like a twin stick shooter, and the right analog stick aims and the left still moves, Vampire Survivors, you have to aim with the left stick that still moves you. So if you are running away from enemies, which you are most of the time, you are also aiming away from the enemies.
That that's oh, that's uh, I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah, it's not the best. Yeah, you're also popping your mic a little bit there, patient.
Sorry.
Sorry. Um, yeah, so I bought that and played. It's like £4 or whatever it is. It's very very cheap. So a lot of these criticisms that I can level at it are like, hey, this game is £4. Shut the fuck up. Uh, so like $5, whatever you want to call it. Um, so yeah, it not being perfect is not like a real problem you can level at the game. It is still kind of fun for what it is. It has a fair amount of content. It's not massively pretty, but it's not supposed to be. It's stylized as, an old fashioned like SNES NES era game. It's okay. I have not fallen in love with it like so much of the internet seemed to for a little while.
Yeah,
So
fair. Like, you have to bear in mind that Hollow Cure, while it is like a fan game, it did it was able to have the foresight of looking back at what Vampire Survivor did and what they could do better.
yeah, but at the same time, Vampire Survivors just had its 1.0 update.
Hmm.
So it's not like Vampire Survivors stopped improving over that time. But there was some pretty obvious exclusions from the improvements that it wanted to make.
The ability to strafe is huge in Hollow Cure.
Yeah, like the great benefit of being able to aim a weapon, because that's fucking huge in that game. Like the amount of times that it's like, hey, this weapon shoots at an enemy, and it does, but it misses because the enemy fucking moves out of the way because it's chasing you. That happens a lot, like in both games. But the great thing about the knife or whatever it is, it's just fucking knives. That you can aim them is that you're supposed to be able to aim them and like actively target enemies, but you can't do that because the entire point of the game is to basically move out of the way of the enemies while the weapons just kill them. So it feels kind of shitty. and makes what should probably be a really solid choice for a weapon quite possibly the worst choice for a weapon in the game. So, I don't know. That's my opinion on it after playing. God, how long did I play that game? It's at least a few hours. You know, it's 30-minute runs. Bear with me, I'm booting up Steam. And it's being slow for some reason. Christ, it is being slow. What the hell? Yeah, I have played about 6 hours. So, you know, it's not like I haven't given it a fair shake. So it's okay. It's a good time waster, same way that Hollow Cure is. Difference being Hollow Cure is free, which feels really unfair because it's straight rip off. But you know, yeah. So that's that. I was curious. I gave it a shot. Aside from. Yeah, I just jumped straight into doing my week because I pretty much never go first, so I thought I'd try.
Yeah, go for it.
I also purchased another few games, apparently. I don't think I talked about this since we last recorded. Persona 5 Strikers, I purchased like 3 weeks before the Royal port came out on PC. That's a pretty fun game.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time with that game.
It, you know how fucking Omega Force are with their development of games that are just Dynasty Warriors with another franchise slapped on. Like, you kind of know what to expect when it comes to those. Thing is, in this case, it's more than what I expected. Because, like, you know what you expect. You get the Dynasty Warriors, you get the Pirate Warriors, you get the fucking Hyrule Warriors, I think is one. Yeah. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wasn't sure, so I was actually asking. But, you know.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's very Warriors-esque.
Yeah. Like, okay, whatever. I was asking about the name, but whatever.
The name? That was sorry, I got suddenly just messaged by a bunch of people, so yeah, my attention got split. Sorry about that.
So it's Hyrule Warriors is the Zelda one.
Hyrule Warriors is the Zelda one, yes.
Yeah. I haven't played it, so I'm not going to talk out of my ass. You have. Does it kind of just play like a Dynasty Warriors game?
Hyrule Warriors is I had more fun with that than other games are very Dynasty Warriors-ish because it had like certain Zelda mechanics that made it more unique than just that. But otherwise, it was mostly it was very Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was expecting for this, but Strikers does not really do that. Like, they put a lot more effort into making it fit the franchise it was, you know, using as a coat of paint for the Dynasty Warriors gameplay. Like, actually including the stealth mechanics and, you know, ambushes, so every encounter with enemies, it's not just a giant map that's filled with enemies most of the time. There are occasional special events, but most of the time it's not a giant map just filled with enemies. It is a giant map filled with enemy nodes, the same as the base game is, the same as 5 and Royal are. It is an enemy on a map, and you can try to ambush them, in which case it will give you an advantage. In any case, that will start a small skirmish of a couple dozen enemies. So it still treats it like it is a Persona 5 game, which was more than I was expecting.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot better about doing that, where they make it feel more like it actually is the game they're basing it off of. Like Hyrule Warriors 2, I guess, which was the Age of Calamity, which is the prequel to Breath of the Wild, felt a lot more like an actual Breath of the Wild game than it did. Hyrule Warriors had felt kind of just vaguely Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
And with Strikers in particular, that is straight up just a Persona game. With like some of the like life sim elements
combat.
just trimmed out. Yeah. And really in terms of that, it was very like visually impressive and just very satisfying to be able to do the things that you normally take turns to do, but in real time.
Yeah, it was a very interesting change, and honestly, I could see more games in this vein in the Persona series of them just using this for a real-time combat system if they wanted to do some games in that vein, as opposed to just sticking with turn-based. Like, I have no problem with the turn-based system. I have also purchased Persona 5 Royal on PC because I am a fucking sucker, but like, I'm going to go back to that game and I'm still going to enjoy it because it is still fun, still interesting mechanics. But I can absolutely see them going with a real-time combat as well.
I mean, they went with something like it when they did Strikers.
That's what we were talking about. It's
Sorry.
Strikers.
Yeah, I'm sorry for missing that part.
It's cool.
Yeah, I played through the whole game myself twice. Once on the Merciless difficulty mode. It was lived up to its name to get 100% completion.
Yeah, I started on hard. That game is kind of brutal to start with when you play it on hard. Not just for like the gameplay being difficult, but also coming to grips with how the mechanics have changed. Like there is a lot that is different. Like just the idea of, hey, hold the Persona button and it basically pauses the fight so you can figure shit out.
Yeah, that's
really
kind of
important. That's and the tag attacks are just sort of a weird thing to figure out as well. Like, it's the display for them shows up in a corner of the screen that you're not looking at unless you know to look there for which tag attack to hit.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing that I wish they had done slightly differently is the D-pad for switching party members. I feel like it would have been better if down was just Joker all the time, so you could just have the three other ones just set as what they are, and they don't move, because they do if it's just three of them, because you switch to one party member and Joker goes in their place, and then you switch that party member that you're using now with the one in a different direction, and now that character is in their place, and the one that was in that place is now in the middle, and then you switch to Joker, and then those two party members that you just switched to have now swapped places on the directional buttons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't find it that... I mean, even if you press the wrong button, it's something that can be fixed before any significant mistakes are made, as long as you're not pressing it while you're in the middle of being attacked.
Yeah, so it can be a little mechanically dense, let's call it, when you're first starting. So
yeah.
if you're playing on hard and you've never played the game before, it's a little rough getting to grips with things. Yeah, and I appreciate some of the things it did with the like, if you lose a fight, for example, which happens sometimes fairly often in the early game if you've not played it before.
Yeah.
If you lose, then it lets you go into the configuration screen. So if you happen to pick a party that is entirely made up of characters that are weak and or do not have elements that will actually do damage to the boss, then you can switch them out, which is very nice to have.
Yeah. It doesn't... If it's a remotely scripted fight, they are incredibly merciful about it.
Yeah. Like, eventually it gets to the point where that sort of thing maybe doesn't matter as much. You can still just, like, hash it out. It'll take a little longer, but you'll still just win eventually. Like, it usually gives you mechanics where you can do something, at least. So that's pretty good. I am quite enjoying that game. I got to the end of the second arc, I guess, in where was it? Alba? No, it wasn't Alba. I can't remember. Sendai, yes, thank you. God. Yeah, so I got to the end of that, and it unexpectedly hit me a lot harder than I, would have figured it would. Because maybe some of the commentary on how it is to be a creative hit a little close to home on some spots.
Yeah. And how do you feel about Zucchini? You know, the police officer who's helping them out.
Oh, Zenkichi, yeah. I never heard them call him Zucchini. I remember hearing them say he has too cool a name.
I heard that.
I like him a lot. He is a neat character.
I love Zenkichi.
He is a boomer in a group of Gen Zs.
He brings a very specific energy to the group that I appreciate.
Well, actually, saying he's a boomer is unfair. He is a millennial in a group of Gen Zs. So maybe I relate to him a little bit. Yeah. So, poor guy. I think his beard's cool. Yeah, so I like what they're doing with the story as well. Like, it's really obvious what they're doing with each what
itchy nose.
What?
Itchy nose. Your nose is itchy.
It was, but I don't know how you know that.
Same YouTube Let's Player who got the mispronunciation of zucchini for Zenkichi said itchy nose instead of ichinose.
Okay, that's not what I was going to talk about, though. I was going to say with each of the monarchs is where I was going with that.
Well, you said each. I'm sorry for jumping to conclusions, but you see how I got there.
Yeah. Yeah, each monarch is very, very obviously going to be, hey, this thing that party member dealt with is going to be reflected in how the monarch behaves.
I'm interested, actually. What are your predictions for how they'll do the next one?
The mayor lady?
So you've gotten to that point already.
Yes. Like, if I hadn't gotten to that point, I would just be guessing which party member would be the next one on the block, because they don't really give you any indication until one of the party members goes, hey, this is related to the thing that I went through. So,
well, I mean, they went with lust for An and then vanity for Yusuke. That was the same order that they went through in the original game.
Hmm. Uh, yeah. Now that you mention that, the thing for the current one seems to be more wrath than greed, but that's I haven't actually gotten into the jail yet, so.
Hmm. I'll look forward to hearing your thoughts when you get further.
So, yeah, I've been having fun with that. I have had to lapse playing it because busy
Yep. Yep.
commissions and such. I have finished the I have quote unquote finished the second chapter of my original story. I handed it to some people to be like, hey, criticism, please. I don't want to fuck this up. And they had some very reasonable criticisms for how I can improve it, so I need to do that before I can publish it. So,
Good plan. Good plan.
yeah. Possibly the first time I'm doing lewd scene for the sake of character development and such, but okay. Like, I skipped over it because I knew the chapter was going to be long regardless. So, well, if it's what's needed, then it's what's needed. And it's a cyberpunk story, so it's gonna have that sort of element, even beyond being a commission from a dude who likes the lewds. So, what else did I purchase? Oh, yeah. I purchased a game called Weird RPG.
Okay.
That sounds like it could go any possible direction.
It is less weird than perhaps advertised, but it is slightly weird. I think I heard about it on the Jeff Gerstmann experience. I think it was just like, hey, this is a weird thing, and he mentioned it offhand that it had some odd mechanics for how it works and such, and yeah, it kind of does. Like, it is a Chinese developed game from what I can tell, based on the language on the title and the poorly machine translated dialogue and news and updates on the game. It is an RPG in the Diablo style. Visually, it is made entirely of voxels, so it has that blocky look to it. What's odd about it is the mechanics of how item drops function. Like, a lot of it is very standard. Hey, this gives you more defense or attack or whatever. Then there are the ones that are like epic or legendary, and they weird. There is one that is like, hey, drop a beat on it, and it changes all of the music in the game to have a heavy, like, thumping bass beat. Like, it changes all the music to be a dance track for as long as you wear it. There is one that does special attacks when you speak into your microphone. There is one that has varying effects depending on the power of your graphics card.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
I love that.
So, yeah. That's pretty weird. I'm okay with it. Yeah. So I played that for a while. I wish the gameplay was a little more interesting. It is vaguely Diablo-esque, maybe a little bit of Hades in terms of, like, hey, attack combos and then dodge and such. Like, that's, it plays kind of like that. I wish it was a little more interesting in that aspect, but I don't know. I can't remember how much it costs, so I'm going to double check that before I really give any kind of verdict on value versus £8.29, so about $10, I think.
It's 11 bucks on Steam.
Yeah. It is not an expensive game. It is a neat little thing with a lot of quirks and oddities, some of which are based on intentional quirks and oddities, some of which are based on the fact that it is very clearly Chinese and not translated especially well. But, you know, I had a neat time with it. I have played almost 2 hours. I have had better games to play in the interim, but that's always going to be a danger for games of this weird and slightly idiosyncratic variety of like, hey, this is a neat weird thing. I would like to play good regular games now.
To elaborate slightly, I see a screenshot. The sword gets stronger the worse your graphics card is, which is amazing. It's the power of poor people.
Okay, that's when you put it that way, that's kind of clever, I suppose.
It's not pay to win. It's you pay to this weapon's not gonna be.
You pay to get a challenge, I suppose.
Oh, but this is fun. I like the idea of this sort of strange little scrunkly game.
Yeah. Fun, neat little ideas that, like, the gaming industry could always use more of those. That is always a good thing to bring to the table.
Yeah. What else you got?
I think that's all for video games. I don't think I watched anything. Yeah. So, lot of work on commissions. A lot of writing. So much writing.
Oh, I went the other night and saw Black Adam.
Yeah. That's basically the trajectory of the film, from what I've heard. Is from what I've heard.
All right. So I've had a lot to think about in regards to Black Adam. And I walked out of that theater thinking, that is a C+ movie.
Yeah, it sounds about what I've heard. Yeah.
That is a solid C+. What that means is that although there are some glaring issues, like the fact that most of the cast has zero fleshing out of their character. Like, I couldn't remember the names of the main non-superhero characters.
Skateboard Kid and Mum.
Yeah, basically. And that's kind of a problem. The Rock plays a very deadpan Black Adam.
The Rock plays The Rock.
No, he doesn't.
Really?
He doesn't play The Rock. Because if it was The Rock, he would use his great sense of humor and he would be very expressive and emotive. Black Adam is not expressive or emotive. Though there is comedy that is done through usage of Black Adam's just deadpan, like, straight face, like his stoic face a lot of the time. And that is rather enjoyable. The comedic moments that you get. It also feels like they are really suppressing The Rock's personality to get him to play this character. You know? And the moments when you can see that personality shine through are my favorite ones in the movie. It does feel like it was written by an edgy teen. Um, I mean, Hawkman shows up because it's the Justice Society shows up. Four characters: Doctor Fate, Cyclone, Hawkman, and Atom Smasher.
Atom Smasher, by the way, Edge Runners
Yeah,
fans.
Atom Smasher, right? For most of the general audience, they have no idea who these people are.
One of them they
Um,
will be confused because of a very popular anime that came out at a very inconvenient time.
and on top of that, um, it does the Suicide Squad thing where when they show up, you have somebody explaining to somebody else what their story is. And I'm like, I'm never gonna remember who this person is when you do it like that.
Show don't tell.
Yeah, and like the most I get of like their backstories is this dude's uncle is a hero. This lady got experimented on by scientists. Dr. Fate has a weird helmet from space or something. And also Hawkman, uh, I don't know anything about him.
Here's the thing. I would actually say in this case, show don't tell is not accurate because Cyclone and Atom Smasher I have never heard of before this movie came out, and I am probably never going to hear about them again.
Yeah.
So, who the fuck cares what their backstory is? Like, that is details we probably don't need, and they could just be, they're superheroes, don't worry about it. Like, Dr. Fate and Hawkman are kind of important. They're kind of important figures. Um, I do know Hawkman's. Well, I know one of Hawkman's backstories. He has multiple. It is kind of what the fuck is the name of Wonder Girl? The one that's got like 16 backstories. It's kind of a situation like that. Um, so if depending on which backstory they're using, he is actually kind of important to the region. Uh, Being reincarnated pharaoh or something like that. So yeah, that makes sense. Doctor
The
Fate, similar. He is a thing from back then. He's a helmet that has the power of. Is any of this actually important to the story?
so this Justice Society is supposed to be they're the other heroes in the movie, and their whole deal is to contrast with Black Adam, who is, you know, distinctly not a straight up hero, in the traditional sense. He's very much an anti-hero. Um,
In the comics, yes. Well,
and
depends on the. It depends on. It's
Haw-
fucking DC.
Hawkman's
It's how it goes. It depends on the interpretation.
Hawkman's job in this movie is to yell at Black Adam that heroes don't kill.
Hmm.
That's basically the reason why he's there. And the movie starts with like 5 minutes of voiceover explaining Black Adam's origins,
Always a good
basically.
sign.
But they actually do something really interesting that's a great twist on that later. So like it's not as bad as other examples, but I still wish that like they start like 5,000 years in the past and talk about this whole empire and everything. I'm like, I wish that we could see more of that, like distant past, um, and that journey.
That is such an easy problem to solve. Is hey, do a flashback. Do a
Uh,
flashback, and then it transitions into Black Adam remembering. All...
yeah. I understand kind of I can understand the reason why they took that angle, but also like I don't know, the movie just felt very sloppy and rushed.
Hmm.
Like the pacing is so rushed. Despite it being a 2 hour movie, you don't get to feel like you know all the characters because we're rushing over here, we're rushing over there, and now they're fighting right after meeting, and over here and over there, and now this guy and he's doing a thing now, and it's just badly paced.
Hmm.
Um, some poor decisions were made in making it. Still C plus because there's some genuinely like good character stuff in there. I actually really like Doctor Fate and
Really?
the way they do him. Yeah, I think he was
Okay.
the most likable character in the movie.
God, who played Doctor Fate? There's a name in
Um,
my head, and I.
is a
Hmm.
famous actor, man, old guy.
It
Um,
wasn't Henry Winkler, was it?
no, 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 no. It was
I know he played someone recently, and God damn it.
it was Pierce Brosnan.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he does a great job.
Hmm.
Um, and for what it's worth, there's some great gags involving like Black Adam. Uh, this kid is telling him that you're a superhero, you gotta use a catchphrase, and Black Adam is constantly trying to say his catchphrase before the guy he's fighting dies, failing, and that's kind of funny. Like he's like gets it wrong. It's like, no, you gotta say the catchphrase to them before they're dead. It's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, has a guy and he's flying through the air and he drops him. And he's like, tell the, and then the guy hits the ground before he finishes, and he just keeps flying on. Like there's some good comedic moments in that. But is this movie the savior of the DCEU? No, it is a C plus.
Mm. Which per DC standards, is probably considered a B plus, but that is purely DC standards.
The one thing I really don't like,
Sorry, you're breaking up.
the sound. Okay, my last thing I'm going to say about this, the soundtrack.
Okay.
The soundtrack is weird because they pull modern songs, like with bands and everything, and I feel like um, Paint It Black does not fit this movie
Also a
just
little
because
on the
the
nose.
just because the guy's wearing black and his name is Black Adam. Like, could you like get an original soundtrack for this movie? Because it would have greatly benefited from that.
They'd have gone with Back in Black if it weren't for Iron Man kind of co-opting that.
It's just, yeah. I didn't feel like my time was wasted. I had a good night out. I didn't spend money. My parents did. I got some candy and some and a nice drink. I had a nice time.
Hmm.
So if it's free and they're streaming it, go ahead and watch it. I would not dissuade you. You know?
Where would this go? This is DC Warner, so HBO Max?
Yeah.
That's probably where it's going to end up. Unless they
And
bin the entire project as a tax write off, in which case. Hmm.
yeah, aside from all of that, student teaching is getting to some um pretty intense stuff. I had to record a lesson and send it in for a really big test.
Hmm.
That basically it's a submission that I have to do if I want to be credentialed.
Hmm.
And had to get on some of the kids who were one kid decided, this is second grade by the way, and one kid
Yeah.
decided we were doing sentences and I was asking for a sentence that could use a period or an exclamation as an example from the kids. Because I had a game planned is what we were gonna do, and this one kid, I'm uses a sentence involving like pooping myself basically, right?
Mm.
And I just shut that down. No attention. Keep moving. Oh boy, that's on camera. And other kids were trying to mess the camera, but turned out okay.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's a thing that can happen. You just fucking deal with it. Move on. Like, probably, makes you look better if there was some disruption and you just handled it rather than a nice, easy lesson where everything goes right.
Yeah, no, my cooperating teacher said as much. Like, I handled that situation right, but I was like, man, you little stinker. I bribed him with Starbursts too to get him to cooperate.
Don't be an asshole, please. Just once. He's like,
And
what if I
and you know
was,
what?
though?
The kid who said that, he's such a sweet kid. And he normally wouldn't like he knows better, you know? But yeah, what are you gonna do about it?
Mm.
Um got some feedback. It's been a while since we recorded, but so I'm trying to think. But we also went and did like a little parade where everybody wore their class shirts because each class is basically assigned to college, and our class is the Oregon Ducks. So I wore our duck shirts and walked around the playground while the parents videoed and took pictures, and we had a flag and everything that we were waving around.
Do they have a rivalry with the Gooses?
Okay, fun fact.
Okay, I picked on something. All right.
So, because we're the Ducks, I will like when I'm counting the kids up to make sure they're all there, I'll put my hand over their head and say duck, 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 but I'll never say goose. So then one of the kids will like reach up and try to touch me on the head and say goose every time. Like, say you're the goose. I'm like, oh no, I'm a duck. You're the goose. Okay, I'm the goose. But
Aw.
it's very cute stuff like that. I actually, yeah, kids are hilarious. Um, I had one encounter. Let me see if I can find. I wrote it down. Um, where the second grader ran up to me and said, "I found Jimmy Fallon." And I said, "You did? Where?" And he's like, "Up there." He pointed at the sky. And I looked at him and he said, "In the sky? How are we gonna get him down?" He's like, "With a balloon." I was like, where's the balloon? He points to a tree and then runs off in a random direction.
Okay.
It's I was just I was such a strange, unprompted encounter that I was just like, you know what? I just started laughing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, uh, been a good couple of weeks. I mean, I've been dealing with some stuff because some friends of mine who play FF14, their major like huge RP group broke apart
Mm.
like because they found out that this like sexual harasser slash abuser who had been kicked out, the mods of that group were still like associated with him, and were it was true that when like so when they kicked him out, they were more just doing it for the sake of the other people in that particular server, but they didn't seem to actually strongly condone it. So huge fracture, friends lost, and really the kind of epitome of people who put their Barbie dolls above other people's actual real feelings of wanting to do the RP but not caring about the people doing it, you know?
Hmm.
It's kind of a twisted part of, fandom culture we don't really talk about is, um, role play and how it can, put blinders on people.
Yeah, a weird it's a weird part of fandoms that I never really got into and always kind of felt uncomfortable when I saw people bringing it up. That's my hang up. It always seemed weird. But like if people are into it, then people are into it, and that's okay. That's cool as long as it's like I mean it's the same rule for everything. Don't be an asshole and don't put what you want above what other people want when the entire point is for everyone to have a good time. If you're putting your good time over theirs, you're kind of being a dick.
Yeah. So
Said as
friends
someone
are,
who is regularly a dick, so speaking from
yeah.
experience. You
So,
didn't need
some
you didn't need to agree with that quite so quickly, but it's fair enough.
no, 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 no. I wasn't trying to agree with that. I was trying to. Uh, sorry, my mic was cutting in and out, so like my audio was cutting in and out. So
It's fine.
you're not an asshole.
Yeah, I am. Like we we have audio documentation going back almost 400 episodes. We can safely establish that yes, I am an asshole on not so rare occasion. So I try to be better.
Hmm. And I know you do. Um, I. It's just my friends are really broken up about that because the people who decided to stand with the victim and wanted to break away from the RP group then had some people being like, "Hey, you ruined our RP. You're just as bad as that one guy who got kicked out, who was, the abuser."
The response being all you had to do was actually kick him out.
And
Like you don't get to turn that around. You don't.
yeah, but people are now calling the people who walked away bullies because the mods who were like associating with that guy are now being harassed.
Yeah,
So
that that doesn't make harassment okay, unfortunately. Like the answer to being harassed is not harassment.
yeah, but in from what I understand, the people that I know who are being called bullies have no hand in actually doing any harassment. All they did was just walk away.
Mm.
And one of them, somebody made a public statement on Twitter about the whole thing, and then everybody started freaking out.
Mm.
So I even looked in that post on Twitter, and nobody was publicly named, but like it's just internal group drama, and like it's affecting my friends' emotional states, and that's
Mm.
kind of causing anytime I'm playing with them to very quickly get emotionally charged.
It kind of says something that they can be non-specific, not name any names, and people just know anyway.
Mm. It's just I'm like, who's the one actually like, you know, harassing? Is this the mod who's still associating with this guy? Because was it just one person? Was it two? I don't know all of the details. But I just know that there's a reason why I don't really dip my toes into RP communities
Mm.
because like they get really really invested and into their storylines and like they will like write scripts for like because they had a whole like wrestling without getting into specifics, they had a whole wrestling thing and everything, and they would write scripts for their characters, but as wrestlers and
Hmm.
have storylines and like deadlines. It was extremely time intensive on everybody's part, but hmm, that's just a part of like fandom culture I don't want to touch because I mean, if I want to RP, I have D&D.
Yeah, it's it's a thing that's very easy to get weirdly intense over and bleed into real life a lot. And yeah, it can be a bit of a minefield, I guess, when some people are very invested in a way that maybe the rest aren't quite so, to the point that I'm really talking out of my mouth. This is not a community I understand, as I established earlier, but like, just if one person is taking it very seriously and trying to be very in character, and the other person is not quite as invested and doesn't want to be that in character to the point that they would be okay with doing questionable things, let's say, um, then that is a disconnect that can absolutely ruin friendships and cause real problems between real people. Because
Hmm.
it's easy, if you really get into a role, it's really easy to lose sight of the people that are on the other side of that role, I guess.
And like a lot of the outrage that like the backlash of this entire thing is people valued their time in which they could indulge in RP as their characters so much that they're just like, well, we shouldn't have taken a stand and walked away at all because now I miss out on the thing for me, you know?
Mm,
It's just like,
that the question then becomes, would it have been worth it?
difficult situation.
Because not saying anything, it wouldn't have stopped. It wouldn't. So would it be better to have the thing that you enjoyed ruined on a consistent basis by someone who wouldn't stop, or to give it up and try something else?
Because like if the mods are willing to tolerate one person who is like that, I mean, even if they technically kicked him out, um, who's to say they won't bring him back in if they're still talking to him? And who's to say they won't tolerate other examples of that happening in the future? It's just you lose trust with how the incomplete nature of how you dealt with this problem, and
Yeah,
so people are naturally going to want to not be around that sort of risk.
that's true, but honestly, I know this is your friend that like is on the side of this, and that makes me a little reluctant to actually talk in devil's advocate for this, like I tend to. But in this case, it's
Because the person was not like it's not like this person the person was like sexually assaulting and like RP specifically, I believe. I believe they were just specifically like they were targeting, females that were part of this group.
yeah.
So
But the thing is, like, kicking him out, yes, absolutely, the right thing to do. You you can't extend that to who people are allowed to be friends with.
mm.
That is a step beyond what is reasonable. Unfortunately, if they then try to bring that person back and say, "Hey, it's all water under the bridge, right, guys?" Then you can absolutely say, "Fuck off, we're done with this shit." But trying to say, "No, you're not allowed to be friends with this person," is it strikes a wrong note to me personally.
Hmm.
But I'm not involved in the situation, so I everything I say on this subject can be taken with so many heaps of salt. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I said, I don't know all the specifics. Um, but my understanding is um people felt like they were being brushed off, and when they brought the up what the guy did in the first place, they read it as more just the mods trying to placate them versus actually caring about what happened.
Hmm.
And it just seems like there was a lot of distrust that may have been brewing for a while
Yeah.
as to what's going on here.
Hmm.
But basically, just a terrible falling out happened in a group that some of my friends are a part of, and they feel awful about it. And so
Yeah.
I've been like, just like, I don't know anything about this sort of community or the sort of thing that happens. So, like, I'm terribly sorry for what happened, but I also really I want to know more because this is a part of the subculture that you don't really interact with.
Hmm. Like at the end of the day, all of this is very emotionally driven from the sound of it, and like I can say at the same time that I say you can't police who people are friends with. That's not okay. It's all very emotionally driven on everyone's side for how this sounds like it went down. So at the same time, you can't police who people are friends with. You can't really say you're not allowed to leave because you feel uncomfortable because with this person's friend. Like that is a decision people have the right to make for themselves, and if they're not comfortable with it and they can't accept that as just what it is, then they have every right to just leave and be done with it. Like it's a personal decision for a thing that they enjoy, and if they can't enjoy it with those circumstances, then that's entirely up to them.
Hmm. So, yeah, been dealing with that on the side of
Mm.
like I'm not involved in any way other than some of my friends got um called some pretty nasty names
Mm.
for just deciding to leave
Mm. Yeah, no, that's not okay.
and had a lot of hate thrown at them by people who just wanted to go back and do everything like normal, continue their role play, which is just kind of nasty.
Mm.
Complicated situation.
Yeah, very much so. By the sounds of it.
Also, on top of that, I have started. I watched a new anime recently. You may have heard of it.
Is it perhaps called Man of the Saws Made of Chains?
Yeah, Chainsaw Man,
Hmm.
which I read
I
the
think
manga
I
for, and
think my
I
title for it was more elegant, but whatever works for you.
and I've been advocating for years for people to read Chainsaw Man, and now people are reading Chainsaw Man because the anime is out.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Um, it looks it looks beautiful. They have a unique ending for every single episode, by the way,
Hmm.
and that's really awesome. Um, if you have not seen Chainsaw Man, I recommend watching Chainsaw Man.
I
Um,
I have heard it gets oddly moving for such a bizarre concept.
I mean, the concept is roughly dude has powers that can no, I can't even I don't even want to describe anything in terms of the concept because I feel like seeing the execution matters that much.
Hmm.
Um, but it is a story of okay, let me try to switch it up. Um, this Chainsaw Man is a Shonen Jump property. It does not read like any Shonen Jump property I've ever read. And it does things to make itself look like a Shonen Jump property, just so it can kind of go its own direction.
It's one of those ones that started on the online service, right? I know there have been a couple of those that recently bloomed in popularity. I mean, Spy X Family is one of those.
I'm not. I'm not certain. I know that like the mangaka had made before this Fire Punch, which was very good. Um, but Chainsaw Man is very weird. It also has a very strong emotional core. Um, and the main character is a dumbass, but he's kind of a dumbass that you can't help but root for.
In typical shonen fashion.
Except like, I mean, he is a huge dumbass. I mean, like, Naruto looks like a genius standing next to this guy.
Harsh.
That's very harsh, yes.
And I love Denji as a protagonist because he is just that stupid. To give an example, one of my favorite moments is this is in the manga, and I'm gonna mention it just because this is how I'll sell it, even though this is just one of many different moments. Is Denji, the main character, has to fight a shadow devil, right, or like a darkness devil. So he decides that in order to fight the darkness devil, he has to use the power of light, which he acquires by pouring gasoline on himself and setting himself on fire.
Why is he
Because-
fireproof?
Nope, he's just a dumbass.
There's okay, yeah, even generic. I don't think any shonen protagonist that I know of would be that stupid, and I know the likes of Monkey D. Luffy.
In fairness, for Luffy, it would probably work because he's more or less he's made of rubber. He's fireproof.
Chainsaw Man can, I believe, regenerate and heal, provided he has access to blood.
That's a very significant proviso.
But yes, that I love Chainsaw Man. It like all the characters are great, and it's go check it out. Big recommendation from me. If you're gonna watch any anime this season, watch Chainsaw Man. Just understand that the character is extremely stupid, and we love him for it. There's other reasons why I do like the character other than just him being stupid. But if I go into that, I feel like I'll take away from some of the impact of the first episode. And I'm trying to avoid doing that. Because it is a very good first episode. And it establishes the setting and who this character is and why we should care about this character. So go watch Chainsaw Man. Thank you. And that is it for me as far as I can remember.
Cool. Patient, how you doing? You good?
Oh, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I don't really have too much that's changed over the past few weeks. Just a few things coming and going, and just everything mostly blurring together.
Yeah.
Work is work, and rest is rest, and only the updates to the fanfictions I watch seem to betray the passage of time. Well, that and the fact that things are starting to get colder again, which is nice.
Don't you live in Texas?
Yes.
Uh, I assume you stocked up on like portable generators and space heaters.
Not really.
Maybe get on that.
Yeah, or
Like I'm joking, but I'm not joking.
yeah, I understand. It's understandable after what happened to us last year. It's fair. Concerning new things, Chuck Conroy has started playing Paper Mario again, which I've started playing Paper Mario again because I remember how much I enjoyed that game.
Yep,
Oh, I
that's
love
what
Paper
happens.
Mario. I love Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Which one?
I love the original. I love Thousand Year Door. I love Super Paper Mario. And then you know what? The Origami King. That was a good one too. The most recent one. I liked that one too.
That's nice. I was asking Patient which one he was playing.
Okay.
I'm playing the classic one via Nintendo Switch Online, the Nintendo 64 expansion.
Oh, they
Ooh,
put that on there.
yeah. How does that play on the Nintendo 64 emulator on the Switch?
It's almost flawless. When you're going through the menu, there is a very, very slight, barely noticeable delay when flicking from one tab to another. But other than that, it's pretty seamless. I mean, I have the original console for Nintendo 64, and when playing, by comparison, there doesn't seem to be much that's. There doesn't seem to be much difference.
That's awesome. Like, I don't have my N64 anymore because that thing broke years ago due to a power surge. But
Yeah, I lost my first Nintendo 64 to a power surge too.
but it is very heartening to hear that it is playing well on the Switch because I had heard horror stories about that emulator when it first came out. Though I know that they have patched and improved it. Being able to play Paper Mario on that on Nintendo Switch Online was one of the biggest reasons for me to actually get it.
Yeah. If I didn't have it yet, the fact that sometime next year they're going to be releasing Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2 for it, even if you can't connect them to the Game Boy Color games, I love those games. I grew up with those games. I still have those games on hand. Love them so much.
Mm.
I do have, like, I didn't have an N64. I have fond memories of playing the mini games for Stadium at a friend's house. That was some weirdly fun shit. I was down with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, well, it was there was a game with Lickitung, if I remember right, where he's got to eat the right foods or something.
Sushi go round, yes.
Yeah.
You have to eat as many dishes as you can, and whoever eats the most expensive dishes wins.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was good
I
stuff.
remember that now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot that Stadium had mini games.
The
It,
mini
it was the
games
only
were
part
some of
that
the
I
best.
cared about. Like the battles, I don't give it. Like,
The mini games were really, really good in both of them. There was the Ekans hoop toss where you were trying to get them around the Diglets, and there was,
yep. I knew
Oh,
there was
yeah.
a Diglett one. I couldn't remember what it was.
and then there was the one with the sand shrews digging for the water, and that one was cute.
Oh yeah.
And then there was Pikachu and Voltorb charging up the generator.
Yeah.
I just looked up a video of the Pokemon Stadium minigames, and the second I saw the 1 player and 2 player in the freaking like Comic Sans with the blue and the green. Like I just
Just
had
like
a
a lightning bolt
flashback.
in your brain.
Yeah, I just like I remember.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun when it's on Switch Online, and I'm sure that minigame mode will be accessible for online multiplayer. That'll be fun.
One would hope, like, for an online experience feature, like, please.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if they don't go for it. I will not be surprised if, when they eventually add in the Game Boy Color games to the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, they allow for connection. But we'll see what happens there. That would be some very tricky finagling, I'm sure.
God, there has to be a point eventually where Nintendo just go, fuck it, here's all of the Pokemon games. You want to catch them all, Americans, because that was your slogan and not ours? Fine, here you go.
Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if they do that for the next generation after Scarlet and Violet, because that's going to be number 10.
Pokemon GX Generation X.
Okay.
Oh god, they're totally gonna call that in America.
No, but like speaking like Pokemon, did you see the recent like people actually got hands on like Scarlet and Violet?
I saw a news article pushed to my phone about that of someone saying, "Hey, this is fucking great."
Yeah, posted in our
Basically.
Pokemon's channel in the Discord. If you scroll up a bit, Cerebi had a preview where they got to actually play the game.
Oh, it was there.
And
Okay, yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah, that's where I saw it.
and Cerebi had just very good things to say about it. Um, the tall grass encounters no longer exist; they just appear in the overworld.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Your Koraidon or Miraidon, the legendary you have, with the push of a button, you can double jump and basically glide, and also it will automatically scale rocky surfaces.
Ooh.
Like it'll just auto climb, which was really something I wish that they had in. Well, they had different mounts for different things in Arceus, but you can also choose to just throw your Pokeball to start encounters. I don't think throw to catch like Arceus is in there, but throw to start an encounter is, and you get a bonus if you sneak up on a Pokemon and throw your Pokemon at it.
Same as
Yeah,
Arceus.
same as Arceus. And trainers don't. It's no longer you lock eyes and you fight. You can just choose to go fight trainers. You are the one who locks eyes and fights.
Interesting.
Honestly, that just makes me think that the protagonist, like, you might not show it this way, but the protagonist is just sort of doing that thing where they look down at the floor with, like, the hand shade in their eyes so they don't look at people. Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me.
But, like, that means that for once you can fully explore without just being stopped by battles,
Yeah.
like, every 4 steps.
Like, if you want to do trainer battles and get some experience, you can, but it's not quite as mandatory.
Yeah, it's a choice,
Yeah.
which I very much appreciate.
Options are good.
Yeah.
The world itself is seamless, no loading screens.
Ooh.
Which is very nice. And also, the camera, well, you can't move around in the middle of a battle like you could in Arceus. You can move the camera and have free control over it. And the battle just starts where you encountered the Pokemon, and you can see the other trainers and people moving in the background. So, that
You know what would be cool? If they did that and had people, like, maybe not all of them, but some of them just sort of stop to watch.
well, here's the thing: if you're doing co-op, and I imagine you're in a similar world, you could probably just stop and watch your friend battle a Pokemon. Like that's the thing that could
Yeah,
happen
but
with
I mean,
human
just
players.
like NPCs just wandering past and say, "Oh, look, Pokemon battle.
No,
Okay, cool."
That would be fun.
Yeah. That'd be a neat touch. Like, sort of make it just a little bit more realistic. Oh, cool, something cool's happening. All right.
And
going on?
items also have like glowing auras that kind of shoot up a bit into the sky, so you can actually see where important items are, rather than just finding one Pokeball amidst a bunch of grass that has an item in it. And unlike previous generation games, it is not tied to your real world clock. It runs on its own time for the time of the day.
Really?
Yep.
That's good. I would like to catch daytime Pokemon. So,
Time moves on a regular clock, like in-game clock, and weather is also randomized. Whereas in Sword and Shield, it was based on the date.
yeah, okay.
Shiny Pokemon do appear in the overworld, which is super nice. Glad they kept that from Arceus.
Arceus.
I'm gonna keep saying Arceus because I believe it to be right in my heart.
Then you're gonna keep being wrong.
Yeah, I will gladly be wrong. As for yeah, everything that you would normally expect from battles is through that, but also you can choose to relearn and forget moves just like in Arceus from the menu at any time.
Delightful.
So you can just shuffle around moves without having to go to a move tutor, which is really nice.
Yeah, just get rid of some of the cumbersome bits.
Yeah, basically everything is cleaned up. You want to just open up your menu, you can see your Pokemon there. You can heal them with a button press. You can change their moves with another button press.
Wait a minute, so you're basically telling me that all Pokemon are D&D wizards?
Yeah, they have to prep their spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have basically full customization of your character. You can change pretty much everything about your character's appearance except for their hair at any time, because if you go to a specialized place for that. But you can change outfits, eye shapes, massive amount of customization stuff.
Delightful.
I look forward to making a swanky dude with white hair in a suit.
They also allow you to use emotes through the D-pad for when you're playing online. But yeah, it's got a lot of just nice stuff in it, and it seems like it combines a lot of good lessons from Pokemon Legends Arceus. Yeah. And I'm really excited about it. So that means I can just run through an area and look for shinies without having to battle every single Pokemon if I really want a shiny.
Anyway, Patient, it was your week that we were doing. We talked about Stadium for a bunch and got really, really, really sidetracked.
Sorry.
Happens every time that we bring up Pokemon. Don't worry
does.
about it.
I think he
No,
appreciated learning a bit more about Scarlet and Violet, though.
Yeah, as long as I'm not being spoiled on too many of the newcomers in regards to Pokemon. I'd like to experience some of the new species blind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, was there something else I was going to talk about?
Wait,
Was that the Kenshi board?
Yeah.
The Kenshi soundboard still exists.
Does that mean I can technically say he was on the podcast?
Oh, you're gonna piss people off.
Oh, boy.
In seriousness, though, I'm not sure there's anything else. Zomniac, Hornet, and I are planning to see One Piece film Red in theaters when it comes to us. And that'll be in about a little less than 2 weeks, so that'll be good.
Yeah, there's been much ado about that film.
Sorry?
There's been much ado about that film.
Oh, yes. We've been adamantly avoiding spoilers on it because we want to get the full experience this time, for once. So we'll just be going to a nice dinner theater on a weekend.
It was a joke, because the songs are by Adu.
Sorry?
Never mind. Never mind. Don't worry about it.
Okay. No. But that's the future. In the present, there's, like I said, not too much.
Okay. Zero. It has been like 3 weeks since we've done a podcast.
Growing is growing and grows.
What?
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 Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just you were saying something about growing, and I thought you said you were done.
Well, pretty much, yeah. There's nothing else remarkable going on with me.
Oh, okay. Are you done? Okay, cool. Yeah. So Zero. We need to do the Patreon thing before October ends.
Okay. So, we should do that now. If we go and look at the Patreon, I would like to say thank you to everybody for donating. I really appreciate it. Thank you to Ryu for your $10 donation. Thank you to Sailor of House Thunderbird for your $5 donation. Thank you to Vale for your $10 donation. Thank you to Greek Guy for your $1 donation. Thank you to Ethan F for your $10 donation. Thank you to Bomber BCM for your $1 donation. Thank you to the Crossbrain, as always, for your $10 donation. And thank you to Troper for your $10 donation. You guys are awesome. Student teaching doesn't pay.
No. Like, does it actually not pay, or does it not pay much?
It requires me to work full time, but I get zero pay. The only pay I get is when I get a chance to substitute teach, and then I get paid the next month on the 10th, which is not very good. But recently, it was signed in that like, hey, they're going to give us some money back for like the high gas prices or something. So the government just gave me like $300.
Oh, that's better. I'm not gonna say that's nice, but it's better.
Yeah, especially after I spent 300 something bucks for tuition for college.
How long do you have to student teach?
Just like 16 weeks.
Oh, okay. That's less bad than I was worried it was. So
Yeah, but it is a major barrier for people to become teachers because you have to go 16 weeks without working, or you have to work as a student teacher and also do a job on the side.
yeah,
So-
you have to do the job as education while you're also doing the job while getting paid in the exact same way.
Yeah, it's honestly criminal.
Yeah, well then. But that's internship culture for you in America.
See, the people who are already teaching though, because they like work at like a private Christian school or something, and they don't need to have a their full credential when they start working, they can just student teach, quote unquote, by just doing the regular job,
Yeah.
which is from frustrating because it means they get paid and I don't.
That is very frustrating.
But that's life.
That's what all the people say. I'm not
Thank you
sorry.
for the follow-up.
I don't know the rest of the lyrics. I wish I did. Something may. Anyway, so this podcast links in the description, Discord and Patreon if you feel like it. We'd appreciate it. Bye everybody.
Bye.